All right, everybody, welcome back to Stories from Mountain Town. Today with me, I have my cousin Carol Kalthoff. Carol, welcome to the show.
Hi, happy to be here.
And yeah, and we are again on Zoom. Carol lives in Minnesota, right? Where's
Yep.
your current spot at? Your current house at now?
Yeah, I'm living in Minneapolis, so I'm like just a couple blocks off of the river, like Stone Arch
Nice.
Bridge area.
Yeah. And what do you like about living in that area? Because you've kind of stuck in the same area since college, similar
Oh
area since
yeah,
college.
completely. Yeah, so the U is like really close. The University of Minnesota, Twin Cities is like just down the road from me, and I went to school there and enjoyed living in the city and really liked Minneapolis and St. Paul. I mean, I've grown up in the area, but it's different when you're living in the city. And
Hmm.
I got a job with a really cool small like engineering consulting firm during school and pretty much worked there and interned like almost full time towards the end of my school career, and then we moved downtown and uh, started like opened up another office there. So yeah, I've just stuck close to work because it's nice to walk to and from.
Yeah. That's always something you've liked that I've that you've told me you've liked doing is being able to walk to and from work and just being right there. Um
Hmm.
and the other thing I always see on your social media is like you're always at these little like coffee shops that like don't even look like there's anything there. It's just
Hmm.
like a room in an old building and it's like this coffee shop that you're hanging out at or like a little
Yeah,
place with beer or
totally.
something.
There's all these like warehouses that they've kind of repurposed, and like like that's kind of the vibe around here is like all this repurposed
Hmm.
industrial areas that they turn into like fun coffee shops or housing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a different lifestyle, and when there's no commute really, you like either hop on a
Yeah.
bus for 5-10 minutes or walk around, and yeah, it's kind of unique.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to love going to all those places in like Northeast, all the breweries there that would allow
Yep.
dogs because they're
Yep.
all like that's the big thing with us trying to do any activity. It's like, can we bring the dogs? And
Yeah.
they can. So that makes it a lot easier.
Hmm.
But yeah, so as we always do on the pod, I am drinking a Paco's IPA, and I
Nice.
put it in a mug with that is the Stark emblem from Game of Thrones, and in the back it
Sweet.
says, "Leave one wolf alive, and the sheep are never safe." Taylor knows I love wolves, so she got me this a while back. Tara, what do
Nice.
you have?
I'm drinking a Jameson whiskey sour
Mm.
with the egg white.
That's like a forgotten piece of it. When like in college, we'd be like, "Yeah, let's do like sour," and it's like you just get the sour mix thing and then whiskey,
Yeah, it's
but
horrendous.
you put like an
Got to do
egg
it
in there.
classic.
Yeah, and there's a fun. You have a fun little glass there too.
Yeah, I'm a strong advocate for proper drinkware.
Yeah, totally.
Excuse to own more cute vessels.
Yeah, we have so many of those. So when we moved to Saddle Butte, like it was like totally furnished and had everything. So we put a
Yeah.
lot of like our fun glassware and drinkware just was in our shed, and now we got finally got to pull it all out. And like this was one of them. Like I hadn't used this in over a year because it had been in a
Hmm.
box.
Yeah, that's
Love
awesome.
those. And you can never. I was saying this to Taylor. This for me, this like beer mugs, whiskey glasses, and like coffee mugs. It's the only thing that I'm not like give me like the most modern or the best of it, but
Yeah.
I'll just like them because they're like kind of cute or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. And you
Like the
can
mug,
collect lots of them.
yeah, like the mug you gave me. It's just like it looks like it's handmade and it's got a wolf on it.
Hmm.
And I drink out of that more than I do my Yeti coffee mug. And the Yeti is obviously more
More
technologically
efficient, better
advanced.
for what you
Yeah,
need.
yeah, it'll hold more coffee and
But it
hold it
doesn't
hotter for
feel as
longer.
good.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know what it is because everything else I'm like, you give me like the better version, the more technology version, the nicer version,
Hmm.
but with like mugs and cups, I'm just like, oh, I like the picture on
Screw
it.
it.
Yeah,
The mini win of the day.
definitely. Yeah. So Carol, you have been out to Jackson now.
Yes.
What month was that? That was like in the fall, right? Like
Shoulder
October?
season. Yeah.
Yeah. Shoulder season. We might have, so we're kind of in that now, and it would normally be pretty quiet here right now, but it's a little bit extra quiet because of the pandemic stuff. So we might have a little bit longer shoulder season this year. I don't know how many people will
Yeah, I
come in the
suppose.
summer. So yeah, that was like October. So what did we do? We did some hikes, we did some breweries. Did we go to the resort?
No, you never took me to the resort. I was saving that for later.
Oh, I think it was closed. That's why.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not there's like nothing to do there when it's closed. But yeah, so what was your you had been here when you were like really little too, you said, right? So
Yeah, classic family vacation.
yeah, yeah. Well, you're one of the 3 million visitors in one
Yeah.
random summer you just drove through.
Yeah.
So what was your impression when you flew into Jackson for the first time now as an adult, and got to see the
Yeah, it
place?
was pretty great. So I love it when you're flying and the pilots get all giddy about it and they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh my God, you really got to look out the window."
Yeah,
And then you're like, "Okay, okay." And then you look and there's just mountains everywhere. And I mean, it'd been mountains everywhere the whole time because you're like flying from Denver or Salt Lake or wherever.
yeah,
But like when you're landing and you're kind of just like gliding through them, I mean, that's when it gets really special and cool. And then just like touching down, that's like the most beautiful airport in the world. Uh,
yeah,
so, just because it feels like a cabin or a lodge, it doesn't feel official or like kind of utilitarian like so many other airports. So I like that. That was kind of fun. And then I mean, you're right below the Grand. I mean, the obvious first impressions, but then you picked me up and we just immediately drove around looking for animals and
oh yeah,
checked out the moose and everything else. So it was just kind of like you quickly got off that like plain vibe and back into nature, which is awesome. And then you took me up to the Butte, and that was sweet. I think another one of my favorite memories was driving down from the Butte, where you like switch back and forth, and
uh-huh.
you're overlooking the town. And I think we did it like sunset one night or something. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that really speaks to kind of the accessibility of all the cool stuff here. Like,
yes,
because like you said, I picked you up and we drove like 2 miles and saw a moose. And
yep.
there are moose that walk up right to the fences of the airport.
Hmm.
I've never thought about it like that before, like in relation to the airport. That was an interesting point. But yeah, that's awesome. And so I'm trying to think of what else we did. It's so hard.
We went out to Slide Lake
Oh yeah, did we do a hike? Did we do a hike past
up a
that?
Red Butte.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I remember that now.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. And I got winded.
yeah,
Well, just because you and Tay were all like mountain acclimated and I wasn't. So I was like, woo, struggling to keep up.
yeah. That's a tough hike. That's a pretty steep one. I've done that a few times. That's an area I love that area because it's just it shows the diversity in the mountains here. You can see like the granite of the Tetons and the way they're formed and how they and the shape of them. And then it's totally uh a totally different style of rock there. It's like this red rock, like you'd think you just like transported down to southern Utah or something. And I just love that it's you could see both at the same time and they're so accessible at the same time that it's just this one area that has all these different types of mountains.
Yeah, and
I
then
love
you have
that.
like the meadows and the woodland and then kind of like the agriculture as well. So,
Yeah,
and the
there's ranches
lake.
back
I mean,
there.
it's just, there's a lot there.
It's like one of those I've compared it to remember those like diagrams in your old in social studies textbooks that shows like the geographical uh formations
Yeah,
to get the
yeah.
words right. It's like there's a mountain and then there's a river comes down, there's a lake and then there's an ocean
Yeah,
and there's a bay and there's a
yeah.
peninsula. It's like that,
It's
but
like
it's
half
like in
those in
real
one.
life. Yeah, because it's like high alpine mountain peak, red
Yeah,
rock, dry like desert, meadow, farmland,
yeah.
forest, tundra, all the
Microclimates.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. And this wasn't so you've been to sticking on the mountain theme. You've been out to Switzerland a few times and seen
Hmm.
those mountains. What are those like?
Pretty incredible. I mean, mountains always give you a certain sense of like awe, and
Yeah.
seeing them in different places definitely like beauty's beautiful all across the world. Um,
Hmm.
but it's fun to see the different styles of like what it looks like. Like out where you are, it's very like Western themed and like kind of rugged and like truly a frontier in a sense. And
Yeah.
then in Switzerland, like, I mean, people have been inhabiting that area for like far, far, far longer in greater density. So the impact of humans in the areas like more historical, and you have all the like mountain huts and like they've been raising cattle on these slopes for like thousands of years. So it's just like a totally different environment, different architecture, and then also the mountains are a different architecture too. Just like the Alps are so um, steep and create some pretty crazy valleys, and it's like very different from what you see in the Rockies. So yeah, it's pretty cool just because there's so many like grassy areas, and they're not like all like, I mean, they're tall, but they're also like not crazy tall either, where it's like you can like hike up them and like they're pretty intense, but it's also like very green and lush and pretty close up to way to the top, at least on the outskirts ones. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think too the Alps have more glaciers that were people explored, and that's what this book. So, audience, we were just talking about the book that I'm reading that I've talked about on the pod before. Um, it's mostly about Europeans climbing stuff because I think this guy is like British or something, but it talks a lot about um, the early mountaineers in the Alps, and it is insane that what the equipment they used to climb with, and like how long ago they were climbing these major peaks, like
Yeah.
Mont Blanc or Mont Blanc, whatever, like the main one in
Hmm.
one of the major peaks in France, was summited in like the 1700s. Like if
Wow.
you think of like
Yeah.
America 1700s, we were fighting Revolutionary War and like
Yeah.
muskets and
No one was out climbing that.
triangle hats, and guys in Europe were climbing these crazy mountains with like who knows what equipment. And I
Yeah.
can't, and I am not doing any of that sort of climbing with the modern equipment, and I am scared of that. And they're just like up there with like no gloves, no like equipment. They're just like, yeah, we're just gonna go do it. A lot of them died for sure, but like some of them didn't. Some of them named all these
Made it.
peaks back
Yeah.
in then. Yeah. And they're like the first people to like it talks I'm getting right now into like the first people to climb Everest. They
Mm.
first they first started looking at it as a peak to climb in like the late 1800s. And
Wow.
nobody did it until like the 40s, I think. Let's get a check on that. I'm on my computer. We need I talk too much about Joe Rogan's podcast, but I need a guy to just search stuff, Google search stuff for me. First climb of Mount Everest. May 29th, 1953. So
Wow.
just like picture what 50s clothing was like, and like what do
Or
you would imagine
camping
like,
gear
yeah, camping gear.
for that
Like
kind of weather.
people still die doing it today with like the full North Face suits, big boots, and good goggles, to technology to guide them, the more knowledge of the routes and where the stuff is dangerous and what is happening when you feel sick. And these guys did it in the 50s. It's insane.
Hmm.
I don't think I'd ever want to do. I like climbing big mountains and stuff and being around big mountains, but I don't think I ever need to do like get obsessed with like, checking off these lists of these big peaks at all. What do you think?
Uh, yeah, I don't think I'd be into it too. I like appreciating the smaller moments, the
Yeah,
smaller peaks in life.
yeah. But I did get a taste when I did you see my video where I climbed something called Pyramid or the Pyramid
I don't know if
here?
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Was that, when was that?
I don't know, like January. But
Okay.
it's just like a 4,000-foot climb that you can start at in the valley. That's like one of the trailheads that I go to all the time. And you can just climb up this like it's kind of one of the major, not one of the major peaks, but it's a very visible peak here.
Hmm.
And so that's what makes it really cool because basically from anywhere, from like my other
You'd be
window
like,
on the
oh,
side
I
of the
climbed
house, I
that.
could see it. Yeah. And I got the taste of like why people like to do these big climbs because I took like a whole day and went up it, and it was like, wow, look how far away my car is. And now that it's done, it's just like it kind of just happened in a snap. I have a couple memories of the way up, but it was like really just that feeling of the top, and that um, will definitely keep me coming back to like doing big lines like that.
Mm. Yeah, I remember getting to some peaks and just being like, all right, cool. Let's we can, I don't know. I guess we can hang out here for a while. It's like that
Yeah,
moment of like you just want to like chill out and enjoy it, but it's also like I don't know, I like the journey up and down too.
yeah,
There's some cool moments in there.
yeah. I was feeling like kind of like last summer. I was feeling that I was getting too into the mode of like, um, get out to the mission, do the mission, and then come back, and then go home. And I
Yeah.
pushed myself to just like hang out there.
Yeah.
If it was a snowboard climb, I would get up to the top and let's just chill for a little bit, just to
Yeah.
enjoy this peak that we just worked so hard to get to. Or a mountain
Hmm.
bike climb, I just sit down and just let the dogs chill out for a second, just so I would actually spend more time in these places that I
Yeah.
took a
No,
while to
that's a
get
good
to.
idea.
Cool. Um, so what have you been doing in quarantine? What's it been like living in like the biggest city in the state, stacked on top of each other, but not wanting to be close to anybody?
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, everyone's pretty much hanging out in their apartments. It's a little hard because you don't have a lot of square footage to move around in.
Hmm.
But I mean, you can drive out to places and go on hikes still, and just like be mindful of reducing like your interactions with the rest of the public. But yeah, work's carried on like normal, just working from home, and then listening to more audiobooks for sure. I mentioned White Fang before we got started recording. So White Fang is a Jack London book, and
It's a classic,
I've been
right?
yeah, it's a total classic, and it's
Yeah.
all from the perspective of a wolf dog.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and it's really been fun. Like the introduction part is like from the perspective of like humans, and I was kind of like, oh, this isn't really that interesting. And then it switched to being inside the mind of the little wolf dog, and
Mm,
then it totally changed for me because it it gets into their head of like, oh, I don't really know why I did this, but I was drawn to do this. So you like kind of get to see what their instincts are like and like how they perceive humans. And I mean, of
mm,
course, it's written from a human, so it's not something like you'd know for sure of like how animals would interact or have thoughts or feelings about humans in the world they interact with. But I think it just gets you into the mindset of like, okay, like if you were a little pup that was born in a cave, what would your first interactions with the world be like? And then how you would grow to like gain wisdom and kind of the woods smarts that those kind of wolf dogs have. So yeah, it's been a fun listen.
yeah, that's awesome. That's one that whenever anybody meets Bridger, they say like, "Oh, he's like White Fang, or you got to read White Fang," and I haven't read it yet, so I need to get on
You
that.
should. I think you'd really like it.
If
You
you
can
like
totally
that,
like throw it on in like the car and just listen to it to and from different hikes and stuff.
yeah, if you like that style of from the perspective of the wolf, here I've got another one for you that I can actually send to you. It's called
Ooh,
American Wolf.
fun.
It's all about a real wolf in Yellowstone, um, and she was like kind of a famous wolf because she was the alpha of her pack and was the main hunter and like this badass hunter.
Hmm.
And it talks about like her journey, like kind of her lifetime, and then like each chapter is a different perspective. It's like some of our are her, and then we're kind of like third person on her, like
Yeah.
like a narrator watching her basically.
Yeah.
And then some of them are couple different humans. One of them is like someone who lives in a town nearby where she lives, and is affected by wolves being around, and is kind of like anti-wolf, wants people to
Mhm.
hunt wolves more. And then another perspective is one of the national park rangers in Yellowstone that like is obsessed with wolf watching and goes to where this place called the
Mhm.
Lamar Valley every day just to watch wolves. And then they all come together at the end, and um, you can look her up. but I'm not going to tell the ending, even though you can look it up because it was like
Yeah.
what actually happens at the end is like real.
Yeah.
But she's wolf. She's like a famous wolf, which is kind of a weird thing. But but yeah, '06. Yeah, they call her '06 because she's like Wolf 6 or something like that. And then all the wolves have just numbers in here; they're not named
Mm,
because that's how the Rangers do it. They're all numbered by whatever. But yeah,
yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I'll check
that's
it out.
awesome. Do you like audiobooks more or regular books more?
I prefer reading regular books more, but I mean, audiobooks have the place in like, oh, you're going on a long car ride, or you're like cooking and just want to listen to it. So yeah, I think I'd prefer just reading it, but I kind of am starting to get more into the audiobook space.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know why I'm not big on. I'm huge on podcasts, but I'm not big on audiobooks. I'd prefer to
Yeah,
read a book because I think can think about it more because I can just stop reading at any moment.
yeah, and just
Like
pause.
with Mountains on the Mind, like I stop like all the time to be like, whoa, what did that just say? And
Mhm.
like reread it or like say it out loud and be like, whoa, that's wild.
Yeah,
But and that, maybe I just don't do it. It turns into like background noise on an audiobook, and I don't.
yeah,
Maybe it's like I don't want it to do that.
yep.
Cool. Um, let's see here. We Before we started this audience, we were texting about things we wanted to talk about. What do you want to go on to, Carol?
Let's see.
So you just accepted a job in San
Yes.
Diego. So you're gonna be moving to San Diego. And Carol asked, I don't know if you told me this or not yet. When do you move to San Diego?
Probably in 3 weeks.
Do
So
you have a apartment or something set up yet?
yeah, we're working. Me and Jackson are working through a lease right now. And hopefully that'll get all tied up tomorrow.
Is he
So
coming with you?
yeah, so he's been out there this whole year, but he's back in Minnesota for the coronavirus stuff, and
Mhm.
we're just figuring out. So his lease is up in June, so it kind of is nice timing for us to head out there again.
Mhm.
And then I start June 1st. So yeah, that'll be a whole new adventure.
Yeah. Have you been to San Diego before?
Yeah, I've been 3 times just out to visit him and see the town and everything else. So yeah, it's really nice. It'll be a whole new world from what I'm used to,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be summer all the time. Um, but
Isn't it
yeah,
like cooler though there too?
it's not because you're close to the ocean. It's not like crazy hot. So yeah, it's more laid back.
I've always wondered this. Why is it that everyone says like San Diego is like cool, like it's not super hot, but then like LA is farther north and also on the ocean, and that's like always known to be really warm all the time.
So I think it's because LA is just bigger, and so more of the landmass LA goes inland.
Uh-huh.
And where it's like San Diego more like runs more like north south, and so
Uh-huh.
most of the people are closer to the ocean. I think that's why. There might be other reasons, but that would be my guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about it either. Um, have you ever surfed? 'Cause isn't there like pretty good surfing there?
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot, plenty of beaches. Yeah, I might have to try that when I get out there, but I haven't surfed before. Have you?
I've
Got
never
any
surfed on the
pointers?
ocean. No, I mean, I've surfed a lot of powder in my day, but I've never surfed the ocean. And I've
Yeah.
wake surfed too in Minnesota, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's something I could totally get into. Like if I lived near the ocean, I would totally just be a surfer bro.
I know you would. Yeah. 100%.
Well, I kind of am the Jackson version of a surfer bro because it's just like that feeling of some people describe it as like glide, I guess.
Mm. I
It
think it's the flow state of just like
that's another way to describe it. Yeah.
you're kind of like you have to be somewhat focused to like do the task, but it's also like it switches your mind into a different mode that's kind of like freeing.
That's a good way to describe it. For someone who's
Yeah, I
not
read a
really a
book called
skier,
Flow. It's also good.
who is that? Who is that by? You look it up.
Well, hey, don't call me not a skier. I downhill ski and water ski, so you can't pull no non-flow.
Is it is it blue with yellow lettering? The
Yes.
psychology of
So that
optimal
that is like,
experience.
so that talks about flow not only in the physical sense of like doing an activity, but in the sense of like a life challenge where you kind of have to have something that is challenging to you, that it stretches you and causes you to grow and like keeps you like interested and engaged, but
Mhm,
also isn't so challenging that you like fear it or like back away from it, where it like
mhm,
causes anxiety or stress or something. So you kind of have to have like, so like I found that with work too. Like when I first started, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming as you get comfortable in things, and it feels like your like flow challenge is just like a little too high, or depending on what you're doing. But
mhm,
or like especially as you like start mentoring interns and stuff like that, you have to kind of find their sweet spot for like what they're comfortable like taking on versus and like accomplish, but also still like push them a little bit. So yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind
yeah.
for
Does it
yourself
get
and others
into
around you.
yeah. Does it get into like the flow state at all where it's like
Yes.
um it's been described as like an athlete when they're totally in the zone, like
Yes. Yep.
sinking
And you can
baskets
get
or
that way
like
like
yeah.
both playing basketball or like working just like through on your job, but it's like a challenging thing that you're super engaged in. You're like, whoa, it's 5 p.m. already or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so like
Or
you
I've
could
been in the
reach that
flow.
flow in
Yeah.
different ways. But yeah, they totally talk about like what that physically means for your body and mind.
Uh, yeah. Like I've been in it when I'm like, talking to a client. Like I kind of just zone out and I'm just
Yes.
like doing everything
Yeah.
right. And then it's
I
like,
I definitely get into flow state for during meetings where I'm like, yes, this is it.
yeah. Like you're like
I've reached that
you're like
equilibrium.
vibing on their own shit, your own stuff that you're saying. Like, oh, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
I like the way I said that. I'm
Uh,
like a third party in my own brain. Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, you go, Tyler. I've been there, and I'm like, what is going on? Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I'll definitely look at this because the flow state is something. It's like a kind of a recent uh, focus, a little bit of like athletes and different people
Mhm.
trying to be highly successful. That it's like, okay, you've accidentally gone into the flow state in whatever way, whether it's a sport or work or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you get into there more often when you
Yep.
want to, you know?
Yep.
And how do you build up that almost that like that reflex or like just putting
Yeah. Some
yourself in a good
preparation.
yeah, prep your body for like to be in that good headspace to where
Yep.
then you go do the activity that gets you there and then it's just right in.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. And there's definitely that like when I'm going down like something on a snowboard and I'm just kind of and it's just full of pow and I'm just flowing like we keep using the word flow in multiple different senses.
Mhm.
And I'm just flowing down here and I'm just like looking around. My senses are everything. I can see everything at one time,
Yes.
feel
Yep.
the board under my feet, feel the snow
Yeah.
turning under me. And it's just like, well, there's a jump. I'm just gonna hit this jump. And then it's just like,
Yep.
ooh, and then like
Yeah, it's like
Taylor's
you're like more aware, but
yeah.
not
It's like
overwhelmed by
like
it.
in your car, does your car have like the 360 sensor? It's like I have that. It's like you get into that and you just like I
Yeah.
just know what everything is going on around me.
Yeah.
and and I and Taylor's a really good skier, but like she sees me go into that mode and I do the things, and my buddies go and do those things. She's like, "How do you do that? Like you just like turning and then you just like hit a jump and out of nowhere, then you guys are in the air." I'm like, I don't know. You just do it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Taylor's
probably
got to
like
get more
building up
flow
the
state.
comfort first, right? For her, it's like
Yeah.
that would be too big of a flow challenge where it's like not right. You have to
Mm,
you have to work your way to that and like adjust that scale of challenge.
yeah. Certainly, there was a time where it was like, you know, turning in powder was hard, and then like turning in powder to get around things or go to things was hard, and then it was like I got that, but doing a jump now in powder is different. So I don't know about that. And now uh it's just like second nature. It's just like, an instinct.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's awesome. We're just turning into the book club basically, which I have
Yeah.
I have
Pretty
thought
much.
about it because I'm like, I've read a bunch of really cool books and I'm reading cool. I try to do a book a month. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what if we just did one of the podcasts per month was just a book club focused one with like whatever guest that happens to be like, or like schedule one that does a bunch of reading that can bring some books to read,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
you
No,
know?
it
But
sounds good to me.
I would think I would kind of feel like I was just super old if I did instead of doing that. Because my like 65-year-old manager just was talking about her book club too, and I'm like, oh geez,
Well, you got one too now.
yeah. You ever feel that way? Like all of a sudden we're just like old now. We didn't try to do
I've
it.
always felt that way.
You've been this
No,
mature
literally,
since you were
there was
like
a
10.
time where I was at like a conference, and it just happened to be in South America, uh, for like an engineering thing, and it was only like the old men who would like these old dude professors that were from like all over South and Central America, and then me, because well naturally because I couldn't hang out with the young kids, and I also would be more comfortable with the old dudes. And so we all sat around and just like drank whiskey into the night, and I was just like the only girl there, and I was like 19 years old just hanging out with all these like 67-year-old like professors from all over.
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, somehow I'm at home in this.
Yeah. Well, that's so you though. You've been like a whiskey fan since you were like, I mean, I'll just say 17, but but
That
like you
sounds
were
about
drinking
right.
like way more mature drinks than like when I was like 18 and 19 and 21 in college, I was doing like, light beers, whatever, just guzzling it. And you were like, oh, this is a really nice Spanish wine that I got when I was in Spain for that time. And I was
I
like,
think
wow.
it's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't want to do the crap booze route. I wasn't
Yeah.
into that scene.
Yeah. But yeah, but now I'm doing that. Like now I'm like Taylor and I, we've
Yeah.
been Taylor has the thing where if she drinks like California Reds, she'll get
Hmm.
headaches right away. So we've been going just doing European Reds,
Yeah,
and that
it's
led us
so
into like
different, and you don't have
yeah,
that problem.
yeah. And
And
I
I
I
doubt she would have it with like Argentina, Mendoza, Malbec. I doubt she would have that issue as well.
yeah, we do those also. So we're been drinking a lot of Malbecs, Tempraníos, Chiantis,
Nice.
occasionally Cabs, but they're a little bit
Yep.
heavy for her. But like those kind of lighter reds, drier
Yeah.
reds from Spain, Italy, France, and South America. We've been
Yeah.
hitting those lately.
Solid.
And I'm like using words to describe them. Like I somehow accidentally know a lot about wine out of nowhere. Like I'm using these words to describe. I'm like I know how they're made. I know where they're made and why they're called these things. And I'm like,
Yep.
where is this coming from my brain? I didn't read any wine book. I just like drink wine.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They put some info on the label, and I don't know. I did do some research usually when I like drink like something from a certain region. I want to know why it's that way and how it got there, and so.
Yeah, I don't go that far, but I have. I mean, I have been to like two or three different winery. No, well, maybe like five wineries. But when we go to, when we go to Santa
Okay.
Rosa, you like
Well,
what'd you what'd you say? Oh, is it good now?
I
You were
can
skipping
hear
on me.
you.
Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
know it was a bad section.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a cat behind you?
There's a cat on the podcast. Look at
Oh
this.
man, this is the
Meet
first cat on the
Fang.
podcast. What is that, a boy or a girl?
They're both boys. Here's
He
the
looks
other one.
grumpy.
Yeah, that one is the grumpy one. That's the other one's the kiss up.
He's just hanging with mom.
Yeah, totally. Some mom's boy for sure.
Yeah. Cats are sometimes cool, but I could never see myself getting one.
I don't know. I think we've just I mean, my whole life we've had a cat in our family, one or
Yeah.
two or three. So
Your outside cats were always so cool.
yeah, I agree. They're way cooler when they're outdoor, indoor versus just indoor. They
Yeah.
got like
Did you ever
this. I don't know. They got some swagger then.
Yeah.
Some
Did you ever have any of them like get killed by a coyote or anything? Or like, did you ever worry about that?
Yeah, we've definitely had cats go missing. I don't know where they go sometimes, but it's happened.
Coyote den.
Yeah, something like that. But no, S'more. So S'more is the cat I got when I was 13. So he's at home with mom and dad, and like I saw him earlier today, and he like he's just like so like he's like a dog basically. Like he'll just
Yeah.
wander around the yard and then just like he still like likes being around people a lot, so he like will hang out. Like so last weekend we were having a bonfire at my parents' house, and we had like brats and we were roasting brats over the bonfire, and then the cat was like, "Oh, everyone's going to eat now." So we see him like wander off in the woods and then like dive into a pile of grass and like straw and comes out with a mouse and then brings it over to the bonfire and starts eating it with us. And I was like, oh my God.
He's like, "Hey, Carol, can you roast this thing for me? I can't hold a stick."
Yeah. It was so cute. It's just like he wants to be a part of everything. So he's just
That's
like,
so
all right,
funny.
we're doing that. I can bring my own.
I'll be right back. I'll go to my cupboard.
And literally the woods is his cupboard right now because it's spring. So there's plenty of little babies to eat.
That's awesome. Yeah, talk about so Carol and I grew up like a half a mile apart in the same neighborhood. Um and the neighborhood always had a lot of like natural areas, like the park was in the woods and like
Yeah.
and my mom's backyard had like woods kind of behind it, and then we had the swampy areas in between like our cul-de-sac and the lake. But
Yep.
then Carol, talk about your like where you grew up, because you can just go ahead. I'm not gonna steal it from you. I
Yeah,
keep
no, so like
listening.
I grew up in the end of a dead end street, so we didn't have a lot of car traffic. And then it
Yeah,
was also like really long lots, so we had like a lake in the backyard, but it was like through lots of woods. So right now in the springtime, because there's no leaves on the trees, you can actually see the lake more, and it feels like, wow, we kind of have a lake home. But like the
yeah,
rest of the year, you can't really see it. But it's like an acre and a half of like what goes from woodland to like wetland out to like just the like kind of a pond lake. It's pretty muddy. Um,
yeah.
but
It's a
it's like
decently
a big
sized
nature
lake.
preserve. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a decently sized lake, but it's just like really shallow and muddy. For anybody who's listening that knows Lino Lakes, Minnesota, it's one of the lakes there, and all those lakes are the same. Like a lot of reeds, mud.
yeah.
It's not really like a boating lake
No, definitely not. But it
for
it
swimming.
was it was nice just to like have a lot of nature around. And then my sisters and I were homeschooled, and so we like had our like lessons for the day that we did like at home on our own, and then usually we were done faster because there's just like when you're focused on your own little thing, you can get through more material because you don't have like a whole classroom to kind of corral. So like we were usually done by like noon, and so we spent the whole afternoon just like hanging out with each other, like playing, and we often played out in the woods. And so yeah,
Yeah,
it was great.
yeah. I just have memories of just like playing around, like all that just natural area behind your yard, not as much in your yard, but
Yeah.
just like in the woods, just doing
Oh yeah,
random shit.
totally. Our rule was we never brought anything into the woods. We only used what was in the woods to like build stuff and do stuff because we didn't want to
Yeah,
like alter the environment. So it was like if we were going to build a fort, like we had to build a fort with just what was out there.
yeah. And that's so cool that you can just like, I mean, there's probably like those times, the fact that we had that access to just somewhere,
Nature, yeah.
yeah, but not just nature, but like a place where we as kids could just go and do kid stuff
Do
and not
stuff.
have like constant like
Yeah.
helicoptering,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
no rules. Like we had to kind of build our own rules and decide what was right and wrong.
Yeah, and we never I don't really think of any I can't think of any like any big fights that ever happened. Like
No.
the only negative or like bad thing that I can remember ever happening was like your neighbor had this like thing to pick up logs. Remember that like crane thing?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I was fucking with it,
Wood
but I was
splitter?
fucking with it,
Yeah.
and it like lifted up and it like lifted me off the ground because I was little, so I didn't weigh that much. That's like the only bad thing I could think of ever happening. Like nobody got
Yeah, I
injured.
mean, people got like kind of cuts and bruises and things like
Yeah,
that
but like
occasionally.
scuffs, like
Yeah,
that stuff
yeah,
happens, like playing. And
yeah,
but I think that probably was really good for all of us to just be able to have that space to just
yeah,
like, let our basically just let our brains format
yeah.
real ideas.
Yep. Be creative,
Yeah.
be resourceful.
We were always doing that, whether it was at your parents' house or at my mom's
Yeah.
house or the cul-de-sac. Like that's I mean, I see the kids around me now. They're kind of doing that. And they're playing with the dogs and stuff, so that's good. But
Yeah.
I hear at least that the kids don't do that as much. I mean, certainly, I don't mean like this month because obviously, but
No,
like
yeah.
in general, I don't think
Yeah,
in like
I
2019
don't
and
know. It's
2020.
hard to tell over time because I mean, obviously you and I have bias based on how we grew up, and
Yeah,
I'm sure that they think of like generations past, like way before us would be like, "Oh my God, they had so much technology and like, were they even outside or that it always changes so much through time, but it seems like progressively nature is getting out of the picture more and it's like interactive, iPad time or virtual reality and stuff like that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, those things are cool and like a great thing to have a part of life, but I always want to like ensure that at least I and the people I'm close to have access to nature in a way that I don't know, it's so powerful. It like is very calming and like relaxing, but also a place where your mind can just sort of like be creative and fuel up new ideas.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Even though I'm I love technology. We both work in technology. Like I'm sitting here on one computer with another computer under it and a monitor next to me.
Yeah.
And so I love technology, but I will still get burnt out on technology after
Yeah.
long days. I never get burnt out on nature. Like I always go
Yeah.
there to reset, you
Yeah.
know, from a long day at work, whether that's a good thing, like a good day or a bad day. I'll go
Yeah.
either in celebration out and do something, or do a hard hike because I'm just pissed off and I need to
Mhm.
hike it out or run it out or something like that. It's always going out there for that. And it's not, "Well, let me sit on my," I mean, I do play video games. I do sit on my phone too much like all of us,
Oh
but I
yeah.
don't go there for solace, what I guess would
Yes.
be the word.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good word. I don't use that word very often.
I'm proud of you.
Um, but yeah, so that was a great spot just to grow up in. And I think that's Lino too. Like if you think about all the neighborhoods in Lino Lakes, they all have some sort of like nature area on the exterior of them,
Yes. Yeah,
even
I
though
agree.
it's like not rural, it's totally suburb, but
Mhm.
around everything is some sort of nature preserve or lake or somewhere to just like disconnect from like
Yeah. Yeah.
grid lifestyle of the suburbs.
Mhm.
And that's something I think about or have thought about as like why I think a lot of people who come out of Lino are pretty well, at least well rounded, well adjusted, you might say, because of
Mhm.
that. Just like there is that influence of nature. You don't get that in
Mhm.
most. You don't get that as much in most modern suburbs.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. So you said, and I know this, and you guys were homeschooled growing up.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, and I don't know why I haven't asked you this before. Um, was there anything that, like, once you got to, because you went to a regular high school, right? That's that when you started
Yeah, I went to high school and middle school. Yep.
middle school. Yeah. So was there anything once you got there to regular school that you felt you didn't get from homeschooling? Like whether that be like
No.
certain subject education level or like the obvious one that is always brought up is like the social aspect of
Social.
it.
So you find other ways to get the social in. Um,
Yeah.
like you join groups that meet up and do stuff together, or like sports is a good way to like get it social. So I did ballet. Um,
Yeah, you were
and then we were
major.
in
You and your
4-H.
sisters were all major dancers.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
which
I to some extent. Yeah, that was a pretty big part of our life for a long time, but I don't think it
is
like
it
defined us completely.
no, no. But is there anybody who does dance and doesn't it is not uh
All like
totally
really into it.
enveloped by the culture? Because it seems like
Oh,
every dancer is just like when they are a dancer, that's like their identity.
well, from our perspective, it was a 4-season sport. There was
Yeah.
no off season. We had 3 weeks off in August. So that was the off season.
Hmm.
So
Which
it's
of
just
you
like
guys,
hard for it not to take over your life a little bit.
yeah, which of you guys didn't one of you guys do like some Russian,
Yeah, we
some
all did
show?
that. So like when the Moscow Ballet tours across the world pretty much, they
Yeah,
they bring a lot of cast and crew, but it's sort of silly to drag around like tons and tons of like children for all the like smaller roles in the
yeah,
Nutcracker because a lot of it's um like should be played by children for the different dances in the story, and so they'll actually fly people out ahead of the touring season and recruit like local dancers in the cities, and then they'll partner with like a company to like kind of host the classes and run through the dances and like learn the choreography. But then it
right.
gets like a fun way for like the local community to be a part of the larger showcase. So yeah, we were all in the little Moscow Ballet for one year.
Yeah, for the Nutcracker.
Yeah, I think you went, didn't you?
I did, yeah, our whole family went. And that's like, yeah, it's another way for them to get people to go because now you're not just
Yes.
seeing the Nutcracker story again, which I knew already, but now I was seeing my cousins dancing in this like big ass real theater. Like, which
Yeah,
theater was it in?
yeah. What? It was in the State Theater in Minneapolis.
Yeah, so that's like a big deal. So even though I didn't really care about ballet or the Nutcracker,
Yeah,
it
but
was
like
cool to see
going
you guys
out,
in there.
seeing a show, yeah, and
Yeah,
seeing me there, yeah,
yeah, totally.
I agree.
Where are we going with that? Oh,
You
the social
brought
thing.
that up. Oh, so it's like the socializing of
Yeah.
homeschooling. But I mean, I will say that growing up and not going into elementary school, I think I could was more comfortable talking to adults for far longer than people like well, I just like when I went to like friends' houses for like sleepovers and stuff, like I could more easily carry a conversation with the parents than the other kids at the party. 100%. That was always true. I always was like, oh, like I don't know how to talk to these people, but I can talk to their parents for like an hour.
Well, why do you think that is? Because you're interacting with your
I think
parents
it's because we
all
like
over
always
there?
interacted with people older than us. Like when you're young and like you aren't seeing kids because they're all at school, all you interact with during the day is adults. So like our neighbors all around us were like pretty much second grandparents to us. So like we were used to interacting with people that were like grandparents or
Yeah.
parents because all the kids in our neighborhood were at school all day long.
Uh-huh.
So we just like were out and about talking to adults.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, that just like carried over into a lot of things. So yeah.
That's an interesting point. That's cool. So did your who did most of the teaching? Was it your mom?
So she only taught us through third grade, and then like I did fourth, fifth, and sixth on my own. Because you just get like a lesson manual, and so like at first like you can't like read it or figure out what to do, but so she'd be like, okay, do this, and then she'd check your work. But after a while, it's like you were old enough to like read through. Okay, I gotta go do this thing, and of course you skip stuff. 100%. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do every third math problem. But that's because I was good at math and I was like, I get the point. Why would I do 30 problems when I can do 10 and get the concept? So like
Yeah.
even though I skipped half of my math homework, I was great at math. So it's not a problem.
Yeah, and it clearly hasn't harmed
Impacted
your
my
career
career.
potential. Yeah.
Yeah, I went into engineering.
Yeah. I don't think I would be able to do that because I would be the one that says, I don't get the concept, but I'm just going to skip it anyways because I don't have anybody enforcing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to, but the thing is like mom could at any time come over and be like, okay, are you doing your stuff? And, you know, so there was always
Kid,
that too.
kids have lied about their homework for hundreds of years, Carol.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
can
well,
always
that's
say I'm
true.
doing it,
But
but I
she
could,
could check.
yeah.
So I don't
Were
know.
there like some form of like standardized test to make sure like what you
Yes.
know
Every
is
year we took a
somewhere,
standardized test.
yeah, somewhere on par with like public
Yeah.
schooling
We
basically.
we did fine.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
without educational background, can you talk more about what you do for work? to the
Yeah,
audience?
I
Cool.
work on the firmware for medical devices. So I work at Punch Through Design, or Punch Through, now it's for rebranding. And so
Ah.
that's this like small engineering consulting firm in Minneapolis in the North Loop. And we like help a lot of bigger companies that like make, whoa, sorry, the cat was going crazy. We help a lot of bigger companies like um, get their products connected or build products that are like connected products. So a lot of times like you have an existing product that you want to get on Bluetooth because everything's moving that direction. You want to collect more data and you want to use, you don't want to, you're starting to go away from proprietary protocols and start using things where you can connect to mobile phones and things like that. So we quickly developed an expertise in Bluetooth low energy, which is what everyone uses on their phones. And
Mhm.
now the medical device world's getting into that space as well. So they all come to us, and I mean, they don't all come to us, but many of them come to us to start adding that into their products. And then we also like, now that we're more known, people are coming to us like as they want to develop products from the ground up. So yeah, it's a lot of medical devices. That's typically what I've worked on. And then now, I mean, it's other things too, but that's one of the major ones.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you work with Medtronic, but I think like the medical device industry is pretty good in the Twin Cities
Yeah,
with
totally.
all the good hospitals and
It's
stuff
a
that we
hub.
have there,
It's
right?
a major industry in the area for sure.
Yeah. What do they call it? I think I've heard the Twin Cities called like the Silicon Prairie or something like that
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard
because of
that too.
like all like the healthcare startups and I'm sure medical device startups and I
Yep,
think it's some like software engineering and like stuff like that
yep,
where it's all. I've noticed the only trend is that you can just be inside for all of the business that you do because
yeah,
of all the time you have inside in the Twin Cities in the winter.
yeah. Yes. No, it's. I mean, that's why. I mean, I enjoyed going to school in Minnesota for like college because there was no reason from like November to like middle of April that you didn't want to be in a cozy library studying or in a lab because I
Yeah,
mean, like I love outdoor sports too, but there's you need to be inside a lot as well, so people are getting work done.
yeah. You're on their website, by the way.
Yeah, yep, yep.
You're front and center in this really wide picture about the team. Is this your whole company?
Yes,
One, two, three, four, five,
like
six,
20
seven, eight,
people.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 in this picture.
Yeah, we've got a few more, but yeah, that's us.
We've been
So
trusted with
yeah,
production or products of a number of great organizations. Think NASA, Intel, Google, Whistle, and Osprey Medical.
hmm
What'd you do for NASA?
that was many years back. They used to buy a microcontroller that we made. So Puncher used to make a Bluetooth module, which we don't do anymore.
Are they
So
connecting? Are they connecting the space station to our phones via Bluetooth?
no, definitely. Like our piece is just like for a research project, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And no,
cool
it's
though.
been a cool. And like, so I write code that runs on small little microcontrollers that are inside like an implant or a medical device that is used during operations and things like that. So it's kind of fun
Yeah,
and
awesome.
challenging.
You're also in the careers page. Why punch through? We care. This isn't your quote yet. We care about each other, products work on, blah, blah, blah. And then your quote is learning is promoted and knowledge is shared, all in an ego free environment where the culture is built on real company values that get lived out every day or get lived out each day.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's a great quote.
thank you.
That whole the ego free environment is I think that's the best part of what you said
Thank you. Because
because
I was kind of like, I don't know, it sounds a little cheesy in retrospect. But I think it's true because sometimes like it's nice to be at a team where you can just say anything and no one's judging you for what it comes out as. Like if you say
yeah,
something silly, people aren't going to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't get that." Uh,
yeah,
they're very much going to be like, Yeah, it's fine. We like let's move on to the more important things. So it's
Yeah.
just a really cool team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you take out that section about the ego-free environment, your statement is you can see it on any company anywhere, and it's probably on
Yeah.
a lot of websites. But having
Yeah.
that in there shows that, like you just said, it's like a safe environment. You can feel free to say stupid things, silly
Yeah.
things if you don't get something, and that's
Hmm.
really important. And that ties me back into a book club idea on a book that I
Yeah.
recently read.
Here we
Okay,
go. Book number 4.
my third. You have,
I brought what? Oh, I had 2. So we're on
yeah,
5. Yes, this is
leaders.
one on my list.
Yes, I can mail it to you. I'll mail you both of these,
Oh,
and
wonderful. So
whatever other
reader,
ones I have. Yeah,
yeah, so this
leaders eat
second one,
last.
okay. Readers eat last. Or
Leaders eat last.
leaders.
Yeah, by Simon Sinek. Um, and the reason I bring this up, because his whole point about like what makes a good leader, whether that's like in business, or he uses the military as an example, or just like, on a sports team, or just like in maybe your group of friends even, is creating an environment where people don't feel like their livelihood is at risk. Because humans,
Yeah.
like biologically, our fight we have our fight or flight
Yeah.
reaction to things,
Trying to
and our
protect yourself.
bodies, yeah, our bodies will do that if we feel like our livelihoods are at risk, and that happens at work.
Hmm. A lot,
And
actually, even though it doesn't
yeah,
seem like it.
yeah, we're not going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger in an office, but
Yeah.
if we feel like,
We aren't going to
we
look
could be
good.
fired, or
Yeah.
look good, the chemicals that get released on us, without our control, lead to some really bad things. Like there's like 4 main chemicals that get released when stuff happens.
Okay.
And it's like a balance of those makes our behavior basically. And the big ones are like dopamine, and that's like the happy one, and whatever. There's like the love one. But this one is your fight or flight chemical. I can't remember the name of it, but if you're facing real danger, it would give you the adrenaline to like, fight or run away. But to have that more energy to do those things, like stronger or faster,
Hmm.
it shuts down other systems in your body to provide the energy to whatever you're trying to fight or flight
Yeah. Yeah.
from. And so it will shut down your immune system and your um what uh what digests things, what system that digests things, food.
Digestive system. There's
Yeah,
another endocrine?
that.
I don't know.
No, yeah,
That's
our
different.
digestive system. It like stops
Okay.
our no metabolism. That's it.
Okay.
It stops your metabolism because it's trying to give energy to like either fighting or flighting. So
Um.
that's like the actual reason why when people are stressed out all the time, they gain weight
Mm.
and they get sick. And this whole
Or they
time,
forget to eat.
maybe, well, that's like good stress though. So maybe that's like if
I
someone's
don't know.
having a healthy level of stress,
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
true. It's all balance.
yeah. So that's like if you're going to work and you're experiencing that chemical all the time,
Hmm.
like you're going to be sick and you're going to be fat, and then nobody wants that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's just
Definitely.
like a really like hardcore example of like if you're a manager, you need to just like you don't want that chemical to be released for your people. And it's
Yeah.
just like so it goes in a little bit into like the chemical, biological, psychological thing of what's going on when people don't have good leadership. And then it will
Mm.
like and then each chapter will have like a bad business case of bad leadership in a situation, and then it ends with an example of good leadership in a similar example to show like here's the way one person acted in the situation, and this is wrong, and then here's the
Hmm.
science why, and then the end of the
Yeah.
chapter is here's a similar example, and here's why he or she acted correctly,
Yeah.
um, and then this company ended up better in the long run.
Yep. Yep. No, I've been recommended that book multiple times, so I think it's due.
Yeah, I'll mail you both of these.
Wonderful.
Um,
Thank you.
but yeah, and it's awesome. And I'm not a manager. I don't even really think I'd want to be a manager for a while because
Yeah.
I just don't give a shit about people's issues, and you have to. You're right.
Well,
So
I
I
think
like
it's more than that. It's giving a shit about what people want to do and like directing, trying to help them get where they want to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can do that, and I know how to like get a team to work together to do something.
Yeah.
I've been a leader on sports teams and things and whatever.
Yeah.
But like the manager part where they're just like, I know my manager hears me talk about way too much that she doesn't really care about, but she's such a nice woman and such a good manager that she's just
Yeah.
like
It's
talks
like,
about it and just like, yeah,
yeah,
cool.
okay.
And like, sets me straight when I need to be set straight, but then just like lets me ramble when I need to vent,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm just not, I haven't gotten to that point to be like good enough to do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm not ready for it, basically.
Yeah. Definitely. No, and I
But
think
it's
in our, like where we're at in our careers, it's something that can wait for a
yeah,
little while. Got to focus on
definitely.
other things first.
But even like in a relationship, like in a friendship or a romantic relationship, like if your friend or girlfriend boyfriend is thinking that like this could this could be ending or there should be something bad going on or something
Mm,
like that, like they're probably experiencing the same stress hormones. And
yeah.
so it's made me rethink relationships too, because it's
Interesting. Yeah.
at a
The
base
most,
level, it's a one-to-one relationship, manager
yep.
to employee, but that
Yeah.
can be, those tactics can be taken to any relationship, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what a lot of these books that I'm reading, it just opens your mind like across so many other areas,
Mm,
not even the area they specifically talk about, or maybe they allude to a few different scenarios. But so like even reading like White Fang, which is from like a wolf dog, it just makes me think about, oh, like so what do my cats think about? Like, like
dude,
as they
yeah,
interact with me or the world around them, like in this tiny little apartment.
yeah,
Just like how they, I don't know, there's so many ways you can apply the knowledge you learn.
yeah. That's a good. um I The other day I was having a weird thought, and I was like looking at Bridger and Mav, and they were just like hanging out in the yard, and then I called them in, and they're just like, "All right, we'll come in." And I was
Hmm.
thinking, I just had a weird thought, like, this is freaking crazy. We just have these creatures that hang out around us,
Yeah.
and are basically friends, more towards children,
Yeah.
and they don't go anywhere, even though they could. And
I know.
they listen to us and they like snuggle with us and they like us, and like Bridger, I maybe it's just me being a psycho dog owner, but I swear he thanks me for things. Like I swear if we have a
Oh,
really fun hike, he like comes up and like licks my face more. He's like, wow, that
yeah.
was great, thanks. I was just like,
Yeah.
this is nuts. If you just like, I try to say like, if you brought someone from another planet or from like an ancient human in
Yeah.
and said like, yeah, these are my pets, these are my
Hmm.
animals, Bridger and Maverick, and they're like, oh, like like farm animals, or they're like working dogs, like
Yeah.
they kill things for you and bring them to you, or they're like a
Yeah.
cow or a horse. It's like, no, they're just friends, they just hang out. We bring them on walks, and like we have to drive across the country now mostly because we don't want to fly, we can't leave them.
Yeah.
It's just like such an insane thing that's just so awesome, right?
Yeah. I know.
And
I
with
sometimes
cats,
I look at the cats. I'm like, wow, you just kind of hang out. You're sort of like overgrown squirrels or something.
but they have
But
that they
they
have
like,
that
they
instinct to
look like
just like
little
they
like
could kill.
totally, and that sometimes is sort of frustrating to have in a home. But I don't know. I don't mind. They mostly wrestle each other, so that works out.
Yeah, but just like you
But
said,
yeah.
your cat at your parents' house, like just went and just killed a mouse, like didn't even
Oh
think
yeah.
about it. That's the predator. We're making poop in a box,
Yep. Yep.
right?
No,
And it's so weird
completely.
how they just like decided, I got another book. I got another book.
Oh, number 6.
Once a wolf. The
There we go.
story of how wolves turned into dogs and into the dog breeds that we know today. And it goes back
Yeah.
into the ancient story of like how the first interaction, and then goes into the genetics of why certain breeds are the way they are and when that happened. But I was just gonna say, like, I wonder how we domesticated cats, because we still didn't really domesticate them.
Yeah, they're kind of like this weird, like they're domesticated, but they're sort of like always wild. I mean, that's true with like any animal, but I don't know. With the cats, it seems like they can they can turn. But I think dogs can turn too. But they're small enough where it's not a problem. But like big cats, holy crap. would not want to see one of those angry.
Yeah, like we've trained dogs to listen to all these commands and do everything, but we haven't trained cats to do shit. They can't even
Yeah.
poop inside.
Yeah. What do you mean poop inside?
No, they can't even like we can potty train dogs to only go to the bathroom outside, but
Oh. Oh, our cats are potty trained.
they
They
well
go. They only go outside. Smart doesn't have a litter box inside. He just has to go out.
oh really? So you just like
Oh yeah.
and that's something other crazy that I just thought of. We've moved now like 3 times since I've had Bridger, 3 or 4 times since I've had Bridger. And once he was potty trained the first time, now he knows at every single building we go to not to pee inside. Like
Yeah.
his dog brain is like he has no concept of buildings or houses or what they are, like how does he know every single building we don't pee in?
I think he does know.
Yeah,
I
like
think
how
he
does he
knows
know?
it's a big deal if he does.
Yeah, but like he knows, okay, we don't pee in the St. Paul house where I got him. Because that was where we did all the training.
Yeah.
But we walk into a Home Depot, he doesn't pee there, and they're dog friendly. We walk into another house, he doesn't
Yeah.
pee there. Like he just is like, oh, carpet, no, we don't pee, or like we go through a door and we don't pee here.
Yeah. No, it is interesting the things to pick up. I
From
think once you read White Fang, you'll know that better.
yeah, once you read this, you'll know how they
The
got here.
history.
All from a creature that's looming around in the woods somewhere out here, waiting to
Mhm.
kill a deer.
Yeah, it's incredible. So that I've recently watched a fun cat wild cat documentary. Not Tiger King. So
Have you watched Tiger King?
no,
Oh
I
my
won't.
God.
I
Please
watched one
do.
on Scotland wildcats. So they're like pretty much a house cat, but it actually like getting into the genetics of it because you mentioned it for the wolves. Like, so modern house cats, like the domesticated ones we have today, are actually from uh, the African line of wildcats,
Uh-huh.
like particularly in Egypt. But there's other branches of wildcats that have evolved, and so like there's European wildcat and a Scottish like wildcat that have evolved from different strains. And even though they look really similar, they have different genetics, and
Yeah, I'm looking
it's
up.
like super crazy because like now they're really worried about the Scottish wildcat because they're like they can interbreed with like domestic cats, and so like the genetics are kind of like getting less pure, and so they're losing their kind of like they're going extinct by just kind of like being absorbed by the feral cats.
Mm.
So now they're doing all this stuff to save this like wild cat that's like kind of like sort of like a bobcat size sort of, but
Yeah, I looked up on Google, and these pictures just like look like any house cat, but
yeah.
they're wild, right?
Yep. Yep. They
What
live in
in the
like the
world?
forests of Scotland.
This is insane. Like, there's one looking like crouched in the snow, looking like you would see like a picture of a lynx like this.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is so. I did not know this was a thing.
Yeah. So that was like super insightful on like the history of cats and like their domestication and like how many different branches and lines there are in that family. And then
Wow,
yeah,
that's
it'd be
insane.
sweet to see a lynx though. I'd love to see a lynx.
I think I've seen one out here. Maybe like driving by. I don't know. You see,
Mm,
there's lots of times you're like driving and you see just like across the field something's hunting something.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that example where you said that these wild cats are breeding with like they're domesticated cats, but they're like not owned or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of that's kind of that offspring would kind of be like a wolf dog because it's like
Yeah.
the wolf dog is reintroducing the wolf to a domesticated dog line
Mhm.
thousands of years apart in
Yeah.
um, evolution. That's kind of a similar thing.
Totally.
That's wild.
I don't know what your advantages would be with owning one of those cats though.
Yeah,
Maybe that they just got more like wood smarts.
yeah, maybe they just like are better. If you had like a big barn and you needed a bunch of mice killed, like they might be a little
Yeah.
bit better,
Yeah.
but not
I don't
really.
know. House cats do a pretty good job.
Yeah, but not, they might not even be better because that individual cat wouldn't have learned it because they would have been raised by humans,
Yeah.
right? Like Bridger
But I
couldn't
mean,
pick on a deer because nobody taught him how to take down a deer.
That's true. That's true.
Or even like if I took a wolf pup right now out of Yellowstone, raised him of my own, and then let him out, he would die within days
Yeah.
because he doesn't know how to
Yep.
be a wolf. He
Yep.
knows how to
I
be.
think S'more could. I like the cat I have at home could go wild. He likes the comforts of human life, but he's got the smarts enough to like handle the outdoors.
Yeah. Does he sleep outside in the winter?
So all of our cats used to, and then we babied them. We used to make them sleep outside, which was a little extreme. But do you remember like the Socks? We used to have a cat called Socks, and he had super long,
Mhm.
3-inch long fur, and I mean he was a fluff ball, and he slept outside most of his life.
Did they like come near the house, or do you know where they
They
slept?
usually slept in the garage, so it was partially warm.
Uh-huh.
But
The one like the main one or the one in the
the
back?
main garage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still nuts though. It's like -40.
You wouldn't make Bridger sleep outside?
No. I mean, I've left him outside for a long time, but even like camping, I don't let him out. I don't let him sleep outside because
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the elements obviously he could be okay with, but
Yeah.
it's more like, oh, actually, one time we slept outside. One time we were in Duluth. It was like homecoming, so after college I went back up there,
Yep.
and we had been drinking all day, and then me and one of my buddies wanted to hammock camp right near
Oh,
Scholastica.
fun.
There's like woods near Scholastica.
Yep.
So it was like 3 a.m. And I get Bridger and I'm like, all right, let's go, buddy. And we get our
So you're
hammock.
only gonna be asleep 2 hours anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, wasn't long sleeping. But then we just like went out there and then he just slept right under my hammock and then he was just like
Yeah.
fine.
Well, that works.
Yeah. I was gonna say something else. Oh, so we can talk about cats.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the most important thing in the cat world right now. Tiger King.
Yeah, I'm a horrible person to ask for this.
Have you said you have not seen it?
Yeah.
You need to watch it.
I won't.
Because it will expand your idea of how insane humans can be.
Well, I already have a vast imagination for what that's capable of,
It'll
but
go
I don't
farther.
want to go there.
It'll go farther, dude. Every single episode is crazier than the last, and every single
Yeah, I
episode
keep
is
hearing that.
so crazy. Like it starts out like, here's this guy, Joe Exotic. He has a private zoo with a bunch of tigers and lions and monkeys and stuff.
Mm,
And you can go and see it, and it's in Oklahoma, and he's kind of a wild redneck, and he shoots guns and stuff, and he had a YouTube channel. He wants to be famous and rich,
wow.
and that's where it starts. And every episode is like craziness, and then craziness, and then
Yeah,
more craziness,
yeah.
compounding craziness on top of craziness. To the end, the last episode, I was sitting there with Taylor. I was like, "Holy shit, this is crazy!" Like every 5 minutes, my mind was getting blown every 5 minutes. The craziness. It's not like
Yeah.
this intricate, thought-provoking story. It's just like insanity over and over.
Yeah.
The worst parts of humanity. Basically, the worst parts of humanity. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second. Keep building it on each other to make it crazier and crazier.
Yeah. So the crazy thing also is for a lot of those wild cats, like when those zoos get shut down for, whatever crazy things happen, um, there's so many wild animals that like they can try to put in zoos, but they can't get back to the wild. And so I recently found out about like there's a wildcat sanctuary in Minnesota, like in the middle of nowhere, and it's not like one of these crazy zoos, but it's a place that's like they put these wildcats and they're like, well, we can't we don't know where to put them or don't know what to do with them, and like they've been on show or like in bad environments, and so it's like out somewhere like kind of on the way to Duluth, but like it's private. You can't go there because they're like trying to do the opposite of make it a zoo, like no visitors allowed, but uh yeah, they have these like cat sanctuaries for all these animals that like have had these shitty lives.
There's one in it's like between Forest Lake and Blaine. What's
Okay.
like Columbus or something?
Yeah.
um, there's one there too that I went to when I was looking at getting Bridger. because they sometimes get wolf dogs that they rescue, and they have wolves, and they have some lynx and a bear, I guess, or they had a bear when I was there.
Yeah.
But it's run by like, the forestry department or something like that. So it's like a rescue, like in that sense. You can pay to go in there, and you can freaking feed wolves. I fed a wolf that day.
Yeah, I think I've been there too, because I remember going to a place somewhere around there and feeding the wolves too.
Yeah,
it was sweet.
Probably a good thing for me because it's worked out with Bridger, but like what they do is there's a big pack. There's like a pack in a, awfully small cage of like 10 to 15 gray wolves or timber wolves. And they're like 150-pound wolves. So they're pretty big. But so you stand up on this like this deck they built above the cage a little bit, and they give you hot dogs. And like you can throw them in there and they'll eat them. And these wolves all come over because they know what's going on. And they all sit and begged like a dog. Like real wolves that like they got hit by a car and recouped, or they were born in captivity and didn't work out. Stuff like that.
Kind of tamed out.
They're kind of tamed, but they look and feel exactly like a real wolf, full wolf.
Yeah.
They're not wolf dog. They're not anything. They're full wolf. And they're sitting and begging like a dog. And I'm just like, oh God, I have the power. I have the power to feed nature. It's just like, that's like probably what Joe Exotic feels is like the power over nature, a little bit power over the wild. And that really stuck out to me in that day.
Yeah. So how'd that change your mindset as you were considering getting wolf dog? Like, did that kind of open your eyes to, okay, I got to take this seriously, or what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I was going to take it extremely seriously. I researched wolf dogs for a full year before I got Bridger.
Yep.
I knew I've had dogs as growing up, so I knew that I couldn't just like try it out. If I was going to buy a wolf dog, I needed to go all in,
commit
everything, give everything I had to him to make sure that he was going to be a well-behaved dog and well-trained dog.
Yeah.
And if that only just made me like kind of more deepen my love for wolves. I've always loved wolves. My mom recently found this like little booklet of something from a class. Remember that summer academy thing I did a couple of summers when we were here? One of the classes was this class about wolves. And she found it and was like, holy shit, Tyler, you've loved wolves since you were like 5.
Yeah.
And I've always had like wolf stuffed animals.
And there was like a wolf like over your fireplace growing up. I mean, I remember that photo.
Yeah, that's still at our cabin. That exact one is still at our cabin. It's Yellowstone wolves too, which is like now I'm here from that picture. Like that picture is just like hypnotizing me my whole life. Like wolves, Yellowstone, nature, But that experience probably just deepened my love for wolves, and didn't really change how serious I wanted to be because I knew I needed to go everything. I needed to give everything.
Yeah.
And I did. I got him in like the first or second week of November. And besides work, that whole winter, I basically just trained Bridger every single day. And it was just different levels of training, whether it was like mostly recall, just like needing to get recall down, and it totally has paid off because now I almost never use a leash.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
I admire that.
It's phenomenal. I mean, it's easier here than other places in the Twin Cities that would at least carry a leash.
Yeah.
But then there's other days when I lived in St. Paul where I would like walk him around the downtown area of St. Paul to get used to just like loud noises and cars and people that we're not, we're friendly with, but we don't need to stop and talk to him because that as a puppy, he wanted to like stop to everybody and say hi and whatever.
Oh.
And then it was like living by that railroad that we did. He was such a skittish puppy. Like I couldn't walk around the block without him getting scared of stuff.
Oh.
So like having that noise all the time and the cars and introducing him safely to like that stuff eventually now he's just like, whatever, like he's fine with noises. He still has his little quirks that he's afraid of. Like he's afraid of the vacuum. That's normal.
Yep.
And then cardboard boxes. He's always been afraid of cardboard boxes and laundry baskets. And I don't know why that is, but yeah. I just threw everything, and then on the weekends I would go out to like a state park or my cabin or my parents' house and do like some bigger thing where you could explore and kind of push the boundary of what the trust I had in him.
Mm.
So that now, like when we do climbs here and hikes here, you know, he's standing over a cornice that's 20 feet tall that's on a cliff on a mountain. And I'm telling him like, hey, be careful, like, whoa. And he knows, like, I can see him like tense up and like back away carefully. Like he knows what that means.
That's good.
Or I can have him off leash and he can walk as long as I'm commanding him and I can see the other animal. He walks past deer or moose or elk.
Mm-hmm. That's impressive.
Well, I just think that dogs are so ingrained in the American culture. Is like everybody gets a dog. You know, you get your college degree, you get engaged, or you get a house, you get married, you get a dog, you get kids. Like that's like one of the 5 things everyone does. And I just think that it's really not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I always caution people when they ask me about getting a dog, like you need to be prepared to like not like I don't know what like I'll ask them what they do for work and where they work and how they can work from home or just like come home and see the dog or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because it's really not cool to the dog if you get this puppy and then you or your partner are gone 10 hours a day because you're at work, but you want a puppy because you just got a house is not a justifiable reason.
Completely. Yeah.
And then, you know, that dog's a nutcase off leash because it's been in a fucking kennel all day. Like, that's why they're crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, Mellow, Bridger, and Mavar. It's because they're never on leash and they climb mountains daily. You know, like, it's not a
tuckered out.
It's not, we didn't like get the broken huskies that are mellow. Like, no, we mellowed them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because they're happy. They don't wander. Our yard is not that big. And always people going down the bike path, but they don't ever investigate because they're not like their mind isn't like I need to go wander. I need to go find stuff to smell and explore.
Yeah. Speaking of the off leash stuff, when I was in Germany and walking around Munich, so many of those dogs are off leash. Most of the dogs in Munich that I saw were never on a leash. And I was like, this is crazy. So Jackson and I were watching like off of like his apartment at the time. And like we would just watch dogs and the owners would be a half a block to a block ahead of the dog, and the dog would like come running up, like it would go smell stuff and then come back. And so they had like their own recall scheme, but it was like there was no leashes and the dogs just had to figure it out. And like the person would like turn a corner sometimes and I was like, how's the dog gonna figure this out? And it's like they probably have their own little routines. But I was so impressed that it was just like, you know, with all this people and the cars and these busy city streets, it's just like the dogs were totally like they stayed, you know, in the right areas and kept up, and it was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like, how does that happen? Like they just never go on a leash, or it's part of the culture to just make it work? I don't know. I found it kind of fascinating because like here usually you see more of the off leash and recall stuff in like more nature areas where you want to go off leash more. In the city it's like, well, they're hardly ever going to be off leash, so you don't worry about it as much. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting world.
Yeah, most cities have like really strict leash laws. Like I've almost had the cops called on me because I had my dogs off leash. But maybe Munich just doesn't, and they're like, hey, be responsible dog owners or something.
Yeah.
I would really like to see more of like, you know, give more freedom but put more responsibility on the owner.
Yes. Yeah. Though granted, we were out to dinner and there was this one dog that came barreling through the restaurant, like in the door into the restaurant and then into the kitchen, and everyone was like laughing, like, oh, shoo. This dog like knew right where to go. I was like, so he's getting a scrap for sure.
Yeah, That's so funny.
It was like a big dog. But
You're
it
like,
was great.
I just Googled Munich. What's this like main building? Is it like a cathedral or something? Like the one with all these little tiny spires around the whole thing?
I don't know. There's a lot of churches. I can try to look it up, see if I
You just
know.
Google Munich. It's the main thing.
Oh, so that's not a church. That's I don't know what building it is for sure. I should, but that's Marienplatz, which is like their main town square.
Uh-huh.
I think it's like a government building or a city building of some sort.
Yeah, and I see the thing with the two towers in the background. That's for sure. That looks more like a church.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's wild. I really do need to get to the Alps in some country.
You do. So if you go, I have some recommendations.
Yeah. So first of all, which country's Alps should I go to?
Oh,
They're all, I mean, it's all the Alps, but like
depends on what kind of experience you want. Honestly, for you personally, I would recommend Switzerland.
What about
Austria, Germany,
Chamonix?
France, Italy.
How do you say the actual city name?
So I don't know.
I've heard it literally like the golf course we grew up by.
Well, I just say it that way because that's the golf course.
I've heard it the way I said it, Chamonix, like kind of more French, and then I've heard it called Chamois. I've heard it like these different sayings that I have no clue how to say the actual.
I don't know. I just call it Chamonix.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's wrong.
That. Well, what about that? Because that's
so I have
mountaineering.
I don't know that area as well, like the Rhone Alps.
Yeah, that's like the that's like the, what do they call it? Like the birthplace of mountaineering, basically, is what they call it.
So that's your draw.
Yeah, because Mont Blanc is like, the way the mountains are there, it's like these crazy steep spires and towers that look like something you'd see in a building, but it's a mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they kind of have that in Italy too, actually. Some of the Tyrol region, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's all crazy, but yeah. When I did go to Europe, remember I went to London and then Copenhagen a few years back? I was trying to figure out how to get to one of these cities, but like the way, like to get to anything in the mountains, you have to like fly one way, train up there, and then like drive to another town. And I was like,
it's a haul. It's worth it, but it's a haul.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it's very accessible because you can fly to a nearby airport very easily, and then take a few-hour train ride and be in the mountains. So, yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah. Sorry.
And there's a little mountain town in Switzerland that's kind of near and dear to my heart. That's called Gimmelwald, and
Gimmelwald. How do you spell it?
It's Gimmellwald.
Whoa, this is nuts.
Yeah. So it's a tiny little mountain town that you can only get to by cable car. There's no roads that go up there. So you have to like walk all around the little town, and then there are roads, but it's like for the local farmers only, really. Everyone else takes the cable car up. And it's not far from Interlaken. So you like take a train up the mountain. Like last time I visited this summer, or no, 2 summers ago. No, it was this last summer. And like it had been a long day, like a sweaty train ride in the summer. And then we just like start training up the mountain, like there's like a mountain river like flowing down, and then like there's waterfalls falling off the cliffs, and then the smell of like the fresh minerals and wildflowers like coming in the train windows, and you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be here. And then you like get to the bottom, and then you bottom of like where the cable car is, and then you take the cable car up the mountain, and then you get off, and there's this tiny little cute quaint mountain village.
This is insane.
That's my recommendation for you.
Yeah.
And you can stay on in that area, and then do all your hikes from there.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture. I don't know if this is Gimmelwald or not, but it's like it's in like a really skinny valley. And
Yes,
there's
that's
like
it.
a couple pockets of like buildings, and then
Yep.
the mountains are just like straight up from like people's backyards.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Insanely small, like insanely small valley to have a town in. This is wild. This is so cool. Yeah, and you got the little like every house is like that wooden chalet look with the cross.
Yeah, yeah, it's very classic.
Flag. I feel like you could yodel. Did you yodel when you?
No.
This is so cool. Yeah, that's what you said. What you said in the beginning about how since they've been in these mountains for so much longer, like there's
Mhm.
no town in America like this. Like
Yeah.
separated from the rest of society, be it by mountains. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Jackson is like a good example of it, but we have an airport, we have roads in here, you know, like
Yeah.
there isn't a town that you take a cable car to. That's
Yeah.
and maybe that eventually we will get there after like, you know, 200 or 300 more years of mountain exploration. Or
Yeah.
because that's kind of where they're at.
Yep.
Man, I'm getting nothing done there.
uh,
That's cool.
yeah,
Well,
put it on the bucket list.
yeah, definitely. Let's see. I'm looking at our text to see if there's anything else. Is there anything else you want to cover?
I think we can call it a night.
All right. We've been on for like an hour and 45 minutes. That's a long one. All right, everyone. So we're going to call it a wrap here on another episode of Stories from a Mountain Town. Carol, any other words for the audience you'd like to get out there?
Nope.
Um,
Live well.
yeah. Tell the audience where to find your Instagram, because you do post some cool things and you travel a lot.
Yeah.
You travel a lot for like work, and you go to Europe. You've been to Europe like 5 times, right?
I don't know. Yeah, a few times.
Yeah. So yeah, tell them your Instagram name. You don't post a ton.
Karel Kalthoff. Karel Kalthoff.
And the most German sounding last name, which is my mom's maiden name.
Yeah, Kalthoff.
Yeah. And you got to name with more phlegm, it sounds more German. But yeah. That's an episode, everyone. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, wash your hands, read some of these books that we talked about, because they're all really good, and they will get you through. They'll keep you sane in this time where you can't go anywhere.